This is Tyrese Halliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and joining me today is Michael J. Facci to talk about the miracle in Minnesota. The Pacers, basically bench unit, beats the Minnesota Timberwolves at full strength, 132-130 on the road to snap a Timberwolves 8-game winning streak, the hottest team in the NBA right now. Facci, what an incredible game. Overtime thriller. Obi Toppin for the corner three for the win. Wow, a lot to talk about today.
One of the most improbable wins, definitely of the season, but I would say of recent memory for the Indiana Pacers. This is a game you're without four starters. You're playing a, like you said, on fire Minnesota team. Very low expectations. I had messaged you and said might not be that much to talk about tonight. Hey, whatever. It was basically like, all right, this isn't going to be a long one. What was I thinking? Because what we saw tonight, there are endless storylines. I couldn't be more proud of the team that I saw on the court tonight.
All right, Facci, I'll give you the reins. Where do you want to start with this game? Because there's so much to talk about.
I mean, I think we just got to talk about like the confidence of the bench. Like we were, you, me, this fan base, very down on the reserves after the performance that we saw against in Milwaukee last game. Like, didn't have that much confidence. This type of performance tonight was everything the reserves needed that can just kind of shut up the critics, the media, anyone who's saying anything, like this team, they have it. They have chemistry. And tonight, it showed every player stepped up to get this win.
And honestly, I think they needed this win, Facci, because they needed time together to kind of get some chemistry on court, and for them to win in the way that they won, it's just amazing. Like, that's what's so funny is, like, we sit here and talk about Obi Toppin. Like, should the Pacers trade him? Should they not trade him? Who would want Obi Toppin in a trade? All that kind of stuff. And then you see what happens when you have four starters out in this game. He plays 45 minutes. He goes 12 of 19 from the field, 7 of 10 from three, 10 rebounds, 34 points. He made every clutch shot that he had to take. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Like, anybody else shooting the ball, I felt nervous. But every time the ball touched Obi's hands tonight, I was like, this ball is going in the basket. He is just unreal right now. So I love the way that Obi Toppin just kind of elevated his game to another level to kind of, get this team over the hump. And look, this was like Anthony Edwards. It was the Anthony Edwards show. And what was Minnesota thinking there at the end? Throwing it to Julius Randle to try and tie the game in overtime. Why did they go to Ant?
I mean, look, if Ant wasn't going to make it, I can tell you one thing. He was going to get to the free throw line.
Freaking yeah.
Ant lived there tonight. It felt like every time he touched the ball, he either scored or drew a foul. And especially, down the stretch in the fourth quarter overtime. So, yeah, that's definitely a mistake by them. But Obi Toppin, I mean, I think I've said this maybe once or twice before over the last, 2 or so seasons, but it's like, was this his best game as an Indiana Pacer? Like, you can make that argument. I mean, from what he did from start to finish, yeah, he felt like the reliable option tonight, but that three in the corner, I did not have faith. I did not. When he put that up, I was kind of like, the last thing I was expecting was, oh, he's going to swoosh this. But what a shot in a big moment when you really don't know who could take that type of shot tonight. Like, McConnell was looking around for everyone. I didn't know who was going to be the guy. Was it going to be like Ben Shepherd? Or you obviously don't have Mathurin out there. You don't have Nemhard. You don't have the starters that we've mentioned. Obi Toppin stepped up when it mattered most, hit a huge shot to cap off a really big night for him.
I mean, yeah, and let's just talk about that. You said it. You said it perfectly there. Mathurin fouls out with about 3 minutes left. I think it was 2 minutes left, whatever it was in the fourth quarter. Nemhard gets ejected in the third quarter. He picked up an early technical foul. He didn't like a foul that he didn't get, or he didn't like a call where he didn't get a foul. Said something to the official very quickly. The official gave him a quick tech, and then in the third quarter, he drives. He gets Conley in the face with an elbow. Rudy Gobert took exception to that. He has a dirty, cheap shot at Nemhard. Nemhard retaliates, throws the ball at him. So he gets a technical foul there and is ejected from the game. So you're talking about it. Your top 6 players on the team are not in the game for the final 3 minutes and then all of overtime, and you still win the game. That is incredibly impressive. And Obi Toppin, obviously the hero, TJ McConnell, made the game-tying shot in regulation. But don't forget about that shot Jarris Walker made, too, when he had the smaller Conley on him over. It was like a fadeaway jumper with like 14 footers. So I just feel like everybody stepped up in different ways, and Mathurin really carried that team in the third quarter and parts of the fourth before he fouled out, because they were really struggling offensively once Nembhard went out. So I thought Mathurin did a good job too. I mean, it was just a great overall effort from most of the guys that are part of that second unit.
Everybody stepped up. I mean, Mathurin had 11 points in that third quarter after, a rough shooting in the first half. So, like, he was huge in the third quarter. If we want to just go, going like each player did step up. Tony Bradley, I can't go any longer. I
Yeah,
was
thank
losing
you.
my mind. Tony Bradley showed me so much tonight. I was in awe. He finishes the game with 12 points, 9 boards, 2 blocks. That doesn't tell the story. It's like early on, he had like 8 points early on. The man was like, getting close to flirting with like a double double, by halftime. Didn't have like a huge impact in the second half, but what he did in the first half, it just felt like pick and roll, just getting easy baskets. He was awesome for a guy that is on his second 10-day contract that really hasn't gotten any real minutes for the Pacers. What I saw tonight felt like, why wouldn't you sign this guy for the rest of the season at this point?
Tony Bradley looked good, and I tweeted, I said he should be in there over Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant was not playing great to me in this game. He had moments, right, but I just felt like Bradley was a little bit more consistent defensively, getting rebounds. And then Thomas Bryant was 0 of 6 from three, Facci, 0 of 6. And I was saying that Tony Bradley should be in over Thomas Bryant, and someone commented on my Twitter post, and you can't ever tell if it's sarcasm or not, but I'm pretty sure it was sarcasm. They said, yeah, but he can't space the floor because that's what we always say about Turner, floor spacing, right? Well, what do you know? Thomas Bryant hits one of the biggest threes in the game to cut the lead from 4-1. I'm just like, everybody just stepped up. It was just so incredible to see. But, Tony Bradley, like, what a moment for him to finally get an actual chance in the rotation to prove that he is an NBA level player. Look, this guy should be a third string center on some team, and he's the Pacers' third string center right now. But I think he is talented enough to provide decent enough minutes if you need him. And look, we were talking about Alex Len. What was it, about a month ago? He was rumored to the Pacers. Give me Tony Bradley over Alex Len any day of the week.
All day. I had forgotten Alex Len even existed until like a couple days ago. I looked at the stats. He's done nothing for the Lakers. Nothing. And I know
they've
Tony
been crowning
Bradley
him.
hadn't before this game, but I saw enough to just present that man a contract. Like, he's earned it. And, I was very impressed. But also, like, if we're going, player by player, Quentin Jackson had some moments in the fourth quarter where he had like 6 or 8 points. It might have been 8 in the fourth. He was making big baskets. It just like everyone, you didn't have that one. I mean, Obi Toppin was that guy. Obi Toppin was the guy that was a big scorer in this game. But other than that, it was everyone just like scoring, 4 points at a time here or there when you needed it. And it just when everyone had their turn, nobody backed down. Like, McConnell had some big shots. He really did. And when McConnell missed that free throw, I went, oh my God. Every time someone made a mistake, they made up for it. Jarris had a bad turnover. Jarris followed up with a basket. Like, there was just like things like guys were able to have longer leashes tonight. And I feel like this is a huge confidence boost for each and every player that was out there tonight that sometimes plays inconsistent minutes. Tonight was kind of your night.
It really was. And I mean, and let's talk about this too, Facci. Andrew Nembhard gets ejected. The Timberwolves can pick one player off the Pacers bench to shoot free throws. They say, you know what?
Wild.
Akron Zips, you guys made the tournament once again. Enrique Freeman, come on down. Comes in, knocks down both free throws, 2 points. What do the Pacers win by? They don't win the game without Enrique Freeman hitting those flagrant foul free throws. So any way you put it, I mean, they could have won the game otherwise.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
hey,
2 points.
It was big in the end. It was like a circus during that time. So if we, let's paint the picture over here. Nembhard draws some, accidental contact with Mike Conley,
Yes.
whatever. It's not that much. But Rudy Gobert, who has a history of just like getting in scuffles, he's gotten in a scuffle. We know Miles Turner does not like him some Rudy Gobert.
We know the whole entire league does not like
exactly.
Rudy Gobert.
Like, Gobert has a history of doing this. But you also got to think about it. Him throwing a shoulder into Nembhard, the size difference between those two, it's not proportionate. Like that is a lot of size coming at you with Rudy Gobert on Nembhard. I mean, think about it. Like, Shaq next to like your average human being or anything of the sort, that's like a mammoth of a man. Rudy Gobert is huge. Nembhard, he throws the ball. He does. You can't justify it, but you could see why. You're clearly ticked off. I'm glad he threw a ball instead of throwing a punch.
Yeah.
So, hey, he gets ejected. Rudy Gobert gets ejected. it always felt like Indiana up. They're thin now. Next man up, and this was that type of night where everyone was ready.
I loved it because I think it did kind of set an edge a little bit. This game was edgy already because we've seen the Pacers do this multiple times. They play a team that's undermanned and they underperform against them early on, and then all of a sudden they have this great comeback in the third quarter where they just take control of the game, and it's like, okay, we played around long enough. We're the better team. We're going to show you that we're better. But Andrew Nembhard is a quality point guard, and we've kind of needed Nembhard to play a little bit better offensively. And tonight he was really doing that, 5 of 8 from the field and really shooting the ball well. It felt like this was one of his better offensive games. But I love that. I love that Nembhard never backs down from anybody, and we talk about that. He's kind of got that quiet dog in him. It's like he doesn't always show it, but like Bobby Portis in the playoffs, there's been other guys that he's been jawing with, talking with. And you love it. You love it. He's not afraid of anybody. And so the fact that, Gobert tries to give him a dirty, cheap shot, he took exception to that because look, Mike Conley, he got an offensive foul on the Pacers earlier when he completely flopped on another elbow. So I wasn't even sure how much contact was made there, and it probably was minimal because Mike Conley is a veteran guy trying to sell the foul. So, kudos to Mike Conley for being a vet and doing that kind of stuff. But I just love the toughness of Andrew Nembhard in those moments, especially not backing down from Gobert, even though it was costly in the moment. It didn't hurt them overall because they still win the game. And then TJ McConnell comes in and played his butt off. I know people are ready to right the ship on McConnell, and I know that I've had some mixed feelings about him as well. But, he's pretty reliable. He's a very reliable player.
He hit some big shots, down the stretch. Obviously, from a ball movement standpoint, like you need that. We're talking about the guy had 11 points and 13 assists off the bench. 13 assists to just 2 turnovers. We're talking about the guy that we're missing here is Tyrese Halliburton, the guy who is, playing point guard at such an intensely high level right now. McConnell stepped up, and you can't look at like the plus minus this game, -4. It was like down the stretch, Indiana would not even have been in it or had any chance to win it if it wasn't McConnell orchestrating this offense. He was awesome. Hits the big shot to force overtime. Like it was just, really like you couldn't count him out. So I think every guy was huge in this game tonight. But like we even mentioned, Quentin Jackson has to take on a bigger role, in the fourth quarter once Nembhard's out there and Matherin's gone down. It's like you're at the end of your bench at this point when you're calling on Quentin Jackson to give you good, real good key fourth quarter minutes. And he did. So it was awesome to see. I'm just like kind of laughing because like when Enrique Freeman came out, it was like we need to get this together. Like we need to calm down. Like, the balls are being thrown, shoulders are being thrown. Like Enrique Freeman's hitting free throws out of nowhere. It's like it was wild. This game had so many ups and downs, like a roller coaster, to the point where you want to pat yourself on the back, even if Indiana lost. But they came too far where you're like, we actually need this one. We have to find a way, and they did.
Once you got invested, like you said, you came in with no expectations, then you get yourself so invested. I mean, I don't usually cheer that much when I'm watching a game, but I found myself like standing up cheering for this one. Like every Obi Toppin made 3, like when McConnell made that, Jarris made that, I was like, the pass to Obi to get it to a 3-point lead with like 57 seconds left in the fourth, like all the little things. I was just so happy for these guys because I know a lot of these players are just desperate to have a feel good moment because it's been so like, they've been taking the brunt of a lot of stuff that's not been going well for the Pacers. And look, come playoff time, I don't expect any of this to really matter at that point, but I do think that just a little bit of confidence is going to maybe help raise their play because we know that basketball is a lot mental as much as it is like repetition and the physical stuff and all that. It's a mental game. And if you can have a mentality of like, okay, this is what I'm really capable of doing when I'm playing at my best. Because look, if the bench can do anything like this in the playoffs, like that's only going to uplift the starters if the starters are playing well too. So, they just have to continue to kind of carry this over, especially now that we know that they have 5 games in a row at home. I mean, this is a big win, Facci, for the playoff standings because look, the Pacers basically were saying, you know what, Siakam's not going to be here for personal reasons. He wasn't at the game. I think that kind of led into their decision. Maybe we just give our guys a much needed night of rest and they get a chance to kind of work some kinks out with the bench and see what they have rotation-wise, what they like, what they don't like. Because we saw a lot of different mixing and matching of these groups that hadn't played a lot together. And then all of a sudden, you get a win, you get an emotional win too on the road in overtime. Like so many good things can come from this in terms of just a positivity with Rick Carlisle always talks about trying to keep things positive and not being too negative. Twitter, the fan base, Facebook, whatever you look at, like everybody is just like the whole sky is falling. Everybody has an agenda and everyone's trying to push their agenda on everybody else. And it's whatever. Like games like this, it felt like the fan base came together as one and
Yep.
nobody really cared who was getting in the minutes and who wasn't and who should be starting and who shouldn't be starting. It was just, let's watch a basketball game and enjoy it.
Felt like I had my arms around like Pacer Nation on Twitter. We were just like celebrating after a good
Why
win.
can't we be friends?
Yeah, exactly. Like we were all just like you said, united, and like to get the starters, to get the four starters, that got some rest. Halliburton, Siakam, Neesmith, just the whole crew, everybody that was out. To be able to get Monster, to be able to get them some rest, it was like awesome because now the schedule is favorable. You mentioned 5 straight at home, but you're also playing teams like Dallas, who is in the running to be able to potentially forfeit games. Like you're not playing Dallas at their best. You're playing a Brooklyn team that has stunk all year. You're playing them twice. I think that's no Cam Thomas for them. This is a huge opportunity to really gain some ground because you've been in like a logjam at 4-6 right now. Maybe this could either keep you afloat, give you some distance, anything of the sort. This is the stretch right now that I think Indiana can finally capitalize on. And vibes should be high with this team because every player now should feel that, hey, look, like I'm playing good right now. When I'm called upon, I'm going to be ready. I'll stay ready instead of like, oh man, you know what, Jarris, what are you going to get? Or Quentin Jackson, what are you going to get? Or what type of McConnell or Obi? Like we're going in the next game in the next week or so, knowing these guys are capable of more than what they get to show on a nightly basis.
Did anything that happens tonight change the way Carlisle changes his rotations moving forward?
I can't say that all of a sudden Jarris has just like earned a spot. I can't say that.
Do you
I
think he
think Tony
deserves one
Bradley.
after tonight's performance over
I
Shepard?
I mean Shepard didn't play like great. I felt like he obviously just 3 points, doesn't take many shots, but still 6 assists, 6 boards. Like he did what you need Ben Shepard to do. But at the same point, I don't think that Jarris did enough to just kind of like take the job. I mean, like we mentioned, he was kind of sloppy at times. He had 5 turnovers in this
Yeah,
game.
that's what I was going to point out. His
It was
turnovers were really costly in the moment too.
one of them I thought almost, and I know you can't pin it on one play. One of them after he had a turnover late in the fourth, I went, that might be the game. And I know that he did respond. He had a big basket after it, but like 5 turnovers is you're being sloppy with the ball, and I think that's where a little bit of the he's not used to playing 35 minutes in a night. That's a whole lot of Jarris, and we saw a whole lot of good things tonight. We did.
Yeah, the start of the overtime was rough.
Yeah.
Like you have the backcourt violation
Yeah.
or the half court violation on Thomas Bryant just losing his balance, and then Jarris Walker gets 2 shooting fouls. And I thought he had a couple of turnovers in that moment too, but I can't remember. But it just felt like early on, like Jarris just was like not in good position, and I think they had him on and Edwards too,
Mhm.
instead of going with Shepard, which I thought was a really interesting decision because we've seen Shepard guard the best of the best, but instead they had Shepard, I think, at times on Randall. I can't remember exactly. Maybe he was guarding DiVincenzo instead, but it just weird. I thought they would put him on and Edwards, but they put Jarris on him, and Ant was just cooking in that second half. Like 19 free throws, I think it was, is what he finished with, which is like a season high for him.
With 20 free throws,
20 free
overall,
throws.
it just he goes 19 of 20 from the
Okay.
line. So like think about this, like Indiana did hold Ant to 9 of 24 shooting, 1 of 11 from 3. Like that is incredible. If a man goes 19 of 20 from the free throw line, it's going to make a big impact, and that's it's about where half of his points came tonight.
Yeah. So when Jarris actually got his fifth foul, the Pacers subbed in Ben Shepard for him, and it was 120 to 117. Minnesota had the lead. So Indiana outscored Minnesota 15 to 10 in that stretch without Jarris. So, I'm not going to criticize Jarris that much. I just feel like
There's some
you
good.
saw moments in that where you're like, oh, this is why he should be in the rotation. But then you also saw moments where you're like, can't do that. Can't do that. And I saw different people on Twitter saying like, "This is why Jarris isn't a real NBA player." And I'm like, okay, it's been like
That's
a year and a half. Let's relax a little bit.
exactly. Like come on. The guy got thrust into playing 35 minutes against a really good Timberwolves team. Like there were good moments. He was
Yeah.
He was a +2 in this game, and
Go guard Ann Edwards.
yeah, exactly. So one thing I want to point out though is what about Indiana winning the rebounding battle tonight without, guys like, Turner or Neesmith or Siakam, like guys that really can contribute, say, 5+ rebounds on any given night. For them to win it tonight, to me, felt like everything was effort. It really felt like every guy gave 110%. And I feel like if Indiana can out rebound the Timberwolves with their backups, I feel like they can be a better rebounding team when they have their starters than what we see on a nightly basis. We got to see a little bit more effort with the starters.
We do, and I'm not going to make an excuse, but I just think when you have Thomas Bryant and Tony Bradley out there at your center position, like those guys are better rebounders than Turner. It's just if you look at what they do in terms of like their skill set, like they're just good at crashing the glass and rebounding.
Yeah.
But this was a pretty back and forth in terms of defensive rebounds. It was 34-35 in favor of Minnesota, where Indiana got the advantage, 5 more offensive rebounds. So,
Tony
it was
Bradley
very
had
close.
5 of them himself.
Who
He had
did?
5. Tony Bradley had 5 offensive
There you
rebounds.
go. That's a difference right there.
I know there's going to be a time now where even if we don't see Tony Bradley for a bit, people are still going to be like, you got to put Tony Bradley in, like almost like smashing the emergency glass. And I love it. I love it. The fact that that's probably going to become a thing now. But even Obi Toppin on a night like tonight, he had 10 boards.
Yeah.
Like,
Play 45 minutes to get 10 boards.
I-
That's pretty good.
yeah. I mean, look, it's 45 minutes. It's a lot,
I
but
think Turner would get 10 rebounds in 45
yes,
minutes.
yes,
Okay?
yes. I definitely think Turner's capable of that. But look, it's like it was just a great effort across the board. You're talking about 10 out of Obi, 10 boards, five boards from Walker, 7 from Thomas Bryant, 9 from Tony Bradley, 6 from Ben Shepherd. Like everyone just stepped it up there. And this was one of those wins that I'm just like really proud of this team because it sounds bad. If you told me, oh, Minnesota wins this game by like 15-20 tonight, I wouldn't have been surprised. I would have been like, hey, you know what? Hopefully we got some good rest and we're ready to rock. The fact that we won, I'm like, man, just on any given night, any team can come to play. And we saw what the 76ers backups looked like without, their starters, even though they were up like double digits on the Pacers. That roster looked disgusting. This Pacers team tonight, like these guys, like actually looked really good from top to bottom.
They really did. And it's great to see. And I just think we talk about it a lot, but like it's a make or miss league, Facci. And the
Yeah.
Pacers could not miss from 3.
No.
They shot 46% from 3, which is just a great number to see. But if you look at the differential in like free throws, like they had 13 less free throws than Minnesota. Minnesota outscored them by 10 at the free throw line. The points off turnovers too. The Pacers conceded 30 points to Minnesota in fast break. Or I guess I should say off turnovers, where Indiana was only able to generate 11 points off turnovers. So it's just really funny to me, like just how this game played out, because it's like what analysis can you really give about this game that makes you feel like, oh, I'm really talking about something that's going to matter for the future. It's just for this game, it was
Yeah.
so fun, and that's all I really care about. But if you want to look at the best lineup the Pacers played with in this game,
Yeah.
it was 4 minutes and 44 seconds. They outscored Minnesota 20-13 in this stretch. It was Obi Toppin, T.J. McConnell, Quentin Jackson, Ben Shepherd, and Thomas Bryant. Had a positive offensive rating of 181.8, a defensive rating of 118.2, with a positive net rating of 63.6. Their absolute worst lineup: Tony Bradley, T.J. McConnell, Quentin Jackson, Ben Shepherd, Jarris Walker. They got outscored 16-6 in 3 minutes and 25 seconds for a negative 92.1 net rating. Had an offensive rating of 85.7 and 177.8 for their defensive rating, which does kind of explain that, because not a lot of shot makers out there outside of probably T.J. McConnell and the occasional shot from Jarris Walker. But that's where I was like, you cannot have Ben Mathurin or not, without not you can't play without Ben or Obi on the court, because you just need somebody that can actually be a little bit more of an offensive threat.
Yeah, I think that this is probably Minnesota might have went through what Indiana suffers with, and that's playing a team without starters where you kind of overlooked them. And I think that the Timberwolves probably overlooked Indiana tonight. And I think that the Pacers flat out wanted this more. There was guys on this roster that felt like they needed to respond and shut up the critics, and they did. Because we talked about it earlier. Like there was a lot of doubt around for like a McConnell or anything like this. Like, hey, is McConnell, still going to have a career year moving forward in this? No, look, he probably is slowing down a bit. But a night like tonight, don't take him for granted because not many teams have point guards that could fill in, that could give you a double double off the bench. And night like tonight was like, hey, TJ McConnell, he still got it. And I feel like for the rest of this team, I just have more confidence now in the bench moving forward. I'm excited to go on a run. And I don't think this is going to be like when we played the Hawks twice and it was like, all right, yeah, hey, we'll win both those. And no. Like Tyrese is coming back. We're knock on wood, healthy against a winnable schedule right now. Let's go on a run.
Well, Facci, I had this one as a win, and I have them winning the next 3 games after this on our predictions. I think you had picked, I think you might have originally picked a Dallas loss and changed it back when we
Uh,
were doing this. I
maybe.
think
I
you
mean,
did change it. You did pick
when
a
we
Minnesota loss, though.
Okay, when we made this, the Dallas Mavericks did not look like this. I mean, this is like really bad and really different than what when we made this prediction. So, yeah, you know what? I might have been wrong, but if I could go back in time and see what the
I think
Dallas
you
thought,
changed it. I think I convinced you to change it during the
that's the one.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I felt confident
so
early on, but you got
you had Minnesota losing. I had them winning. So hopefully they can continue this. I did have them losing to Minnesota at home though, because I feel like they're gonna come hungry next week
yeah.
to take down the Pacers after the Pacers got that win. But we'll see because Pacers starters will be out there, so it might feel a little bit different. But uh, overall, we just need to kind of wrap this up. We're getting closer to the end of this episode, but I want to get your thoughts on who we should give our player awards to and where you want to start with that.
MVP, Obi Toppin. I just think that I mean, what a night. What a night by Obi Toppin. This is definitely the most that he scored as a Pacer. I looked it up. So he had 31 earlier in the season against Washington, 34 tonight, MVP.
All right, I need to start making graphics. I'll do that for next season. Maybe I'll do it for the playoffs, but nah, I'll probably just wait till next season and start giving these out on Twitter for our player of the game and stuff like that. But I would agree, Obi Toppin's player of the game, and I think he deserves the clutch player of the game too because he
Definitely.
just made every three. So the bank three at the top, like that, when Conley hit that stupid bank three from the
I
side,
thought that was it. I
I
thought that
did
was
too. I forgot
I like
we didn't bring that up.
a little bit. Yeah. When he hit that, I went, come on. Like that's like the miracle shot. That's like, all right, that's probably the difference. And Indiana just kept somehow finding a way to we talked about Thomas Bryant coming out. Like, what? Where does he get that from? And on a night like he was having, where does he pull that shot from? I'm happy he did though.
I know it was crazy, but then Obi's bang three. I was like, okay, we got the miracle three back. Like,
Yep.
this was truly like the setup of March Madness because
Yeah.
the playing games start on Tuesday. I saw you were with the governor of West Virginia
Yeah,
today.
right. Yeah.
Did you
That
see
guy
that
was
guy? He did
not
kind of resemble you a little bit.
he wasn't as good looking as me, and that's not even me tooting my horn. That guy was not
He was
on
losing his
my
hair a little bit more than you.
yeah. That guy was losing his hair pretty bad. So
Are they really suing?
what I mean, what's gonna happen? Like what are you how are you gonna sue? What are you gonna get? Like, well, they're not gonna just be like, we made a mistake. We're gonna put West Virginia in the tournament, and to add salt in the wound, West Virginia declined the NIT and whatever other like tournament there was. Our top freshman just entered the transfer portal, and our head coach is meeting with Iowa, and that's like his dream job. So it's like literally the season like ended, like, and everything's being taken from
Man.
us. And it's not a great time to be a West Virginia Mountaineer, but hopefully we rebound from this.
All right. Well, speaking of rebounding, let's get back to our awards here to kind of close things out. We've got the clutch player, Reggie Miller clutch player, and the Mel Daniels MVP. Both go to Obi Toppin. Now let's talk about our feisty Foster hustle player of the game. Who do you want to go with?
You could give this to a couple guys, but I think if it ain't going to be the Tony Bradley game,
It's
I don't
gotta
know
be.
what it's going to be. Yeah, this has got to be it. Tony Bradley, I mean, was just the first half was simply magical. I felt like if you had just watched a basketball game for the first time, you would have been like, that guy, he's got to be somebody. And on a night like tonight, Tony Bradley was somebody.
All right, Facci. Well, now we got to make a tough decision here because we got to find a player eligible for our Ron Artest Defensive Player of the Game. Do we have one of this one?
Is this just being added in now?
Well, we
Like,
added it in a couple weeks ago, and I'm just going to keep it in here.
maybe once.
I've done it twice.
I guess you've done it probably without me if you've done recap the games alone. So
Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe I
so
did one
it's like,
without you.
yeah.
I'm making it a staple now.
All right. I mean, how many awards could you really give out? I mean,
Yeah, four awards feels fine for this game.
Yeah, all right. Who do you got? I went first each time.
That's a tough one. I kind of want to say Nimhard because of how good he played defensively on Edwards in the first half.
Definitely played really. I think Edwards didn't have a basket till like mostly towards the end of the first quarter or so. So he was definitely playing him really well. I'm fine. I'm fine if we want to give it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean we could do that.
I'd say consistently he probably earned it. I think that their defense did take a step back quite a bit when he came off the floor. He was playing very good in this game. So we'll give it to Nimhard, even though he only played basically two and a fourth quarters. But I don't know. It's a great win, Facci. This is a great win for the Pacers. And, just feel better about yourself. And, you kind of look at that Milwaukee win like, hey, if you could have won the Milwaukee game and you think you're losing the Minnesota game, flip them.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of like even it out a little bit. Obviously, it matters more for tiebreaker implications. I know all that, but yeah. So anyway, on our next episode, we're doing the last part of the mailbag, and we were talking about this off air because one of the questions was, "What is your favorite moment of the season? Favorite game of the season?" And me and Facci did like a top 5 list. We recorded this on Monday night. Had no idea, or excuse me, Sunday night. We had no idea that this was going to happen tonight. So me and Facci will just say on this episode, we would have added this game to that list for sure in the top 5, without doubt. So, anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, when you're talking about adding the top 5, I mean, I was tweeting out, I was like, was this the game of the year? Like, I just felt like, obviously Halliburton hit the biggest shot. He definitely did, but this game was insane. This was just back and forth, and every time it felt like you're going to lose, Indiana found a way. I'd say this is a top 2 moment of the year between this and the Halliburton game winner, and it's crazy to get them in within a calendar week. So awesome stuff. I love this team. So much can change in about 24 hours. It can go from cloudy and gloom outlook to all of a sudden like, hey, the Indiana Pacers, man, we're tied for 4th again. This team's getting healthy. They're playing good basketball right now. Like I felt like, hey, you obviously you could have beaten Milwaukee. You didn't. You respond. It's all about the response. They responded tonight, and I'm excited to see what's next.
I am too, Facci, and I'm surprised that you haven't said it yet. So how's that pep in the step?
Oh, the pep in the step is going to be so real on a Tuesday morning. I mean, how could you not tell everybody, did you see what the Pacers did to the Timberwolves last night? And I can't wait to tell my wife when she wakes up. Probably going to be the first thing. I just tap her on the shoulder. Babe, we beat the Timberwolves last night. She's like, what? And I'm like, I'm just going to the whole story of this. That's the pep in the step on a Tuesday morning. You got to tell somebody about this win.
I'll tell you what, before I came in here, I went into the bedroom and I was like, hey, babe. She was asleep. And I was like, I don't know if you're awake or not. I'm about the podcast. I just want to let you know the Pacers won in overtime.
That's my plan for the morning. Like, I haven't seen my wife since she's sleeping, but I can't wait to tell her about it in the morning. Will I get the response that I want? I don't know. But you know what? That's how excited I am to tell someone what we pulled off tonight.
Absolutely, Facci. So I was going to bring up the John Cena, return to Raw tonight with Cody Rhodes and whatever, but I just feel like I don't need to because this game gave us so much content. Maybe me and you can dive into that a little bit later. Maybe on Thursday when they play the Nets, if that game's a bit of a stinker, we can dive into more WWE conversation. But with that being said, Pacer Nation, thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope you guys are subscribed to the podcast. If you are not, don't go anywhere. We're going to have all the content that you want for your Pacers coverage. I know March Madness is right here around the corner, and they're going to be watching a lot of basketball. But if you have a little downtime, don't tune out of Setting the Pace. We love listening to your feedback on this show. And we've got mailbags coming up. We got game recaps. So a lot of good stuff coming your way. But Facci, if the pep in the step is as real as it's ever been, and you're hoping the Pacers can start a 4-game winning streak, then hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers.